Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Development Stream. We're going to continue with the hotbar. I have made a couple of changes while we were offline, and let's just take a look at those. So, our hotbar now puts spaces where there are spaces, and we now have our connectors working as well. Okay, so we need a couple of things here. First of all, we need to change our splitters, etc., to have the border, etc. And then we need a way where we can do some management, right? Where we can drag stuff into the hotbar, etc., etc. Okay? So, with that in mind, let's get on with it. Let's tidy this bit up a bit, right? And take it from there. So, the first thing we're going to do is bring up our, not our individual building blank, but our actual individual building button. Okay, and we shall bring that up beside the individual connector button. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll drag that off so that we can basically copy the settings from our individual building button, right? So we want these to be exactly the same with the correct borders and all that stuff. So it looks like we've got our thing sorted out here. The image available, we are going to set that to invisible for now. Okay, and I believe that's what is going to be the case here. It's actually not, but it's obviously being set by the cost, and since we don't have a cost for the connectors yet, I don't think, we're going to have to do something about that. Anyway, now we can go to the border, we can copy that, and we basically paste it in here, and we copy that color, and we paste it in here. Okay, and brush color is going to be from here, so we'll just copy that, we'll close this, and we'll paste that in there, right? And image, no tile, everything looks good, and that should be us in theory. So we'll drag that down, we'll drag this down, then we'll press play, continue, right, then we'll hit H for the hotbar, and now we have the correct settings. Okay, so this is now looking a bit more regimented and directed, so that is a good thing. Okay, and now we need basically a management window for this. Okay, so I'm going to close that one down for now, and I actually created a new thing, but to be able to test this, okay, what we're going to have to do, and it basically bleeds over into something else, and that is research, right? And basically our research struct, right? Because some of the things that we're going to do here are not going to be available unless they're registered or they're researched, right? So what we're going to have to do is have new variable. Actually, we're going to have two new variables, right? And we're going to say products unlocked, right? And I was thinking there was going to be two of these, but there actually isn't, right? And this is going to be E items, and this is actually going to be an array. Okay, so when we unlock or when we finish, for example, mining, it might give us the what's I'm thinking of here. It'll unlock, like, for example, a miner 2. Okay? So, from that point of view, what we actually need to do here is we need to basically get the data and the recipes for other items, which is going to be in here. So in E items, right, you'll notice there we've got a smelter, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to add one, and it's going to be miner 2. Okay, and this is merely a test for now. It might end up being the actual thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to add a new row, and it's going to be miner 2, right? And the category is miner, and the item is miner 2. Apparently I didn't select that there. Anyway, right, so it's miner 2, and the image is going to be minor. And the mesh what's the mesh for the minor? Let's have a look. Buildings, models. Okay. So there's that. And I'm actually pretty sure that this one is somewhere else. I'm kind of under the impression, actually, it might be in here. Apparently not. I think it might be here. Right, and if it's not, we can get it from somewhere else, because I know where to find it, and we can check it from there. But there's something tells me it definitely is in here. There's the fabricator. Okay, where are you? And there's the refinery. I'm under the impression that the mesh is actually something else. So what we're going to do is, if we go into here in DT menu buildings, it's under game UI. Well, that's the class, and it's power plant mid. So we can copy that and paste it. It's not tradable. This is minor 2, so this is research level 2. Let's see. And we can save that. So now if we go back to our research items, right, and we look at the recipes, and this might not work. I might need to do a bit of because that's not going to be in there, right? So it's actually going to be in here. Okay. This is it here. Right. So call it minor 2. And it is of building type minor. And you know what? I shouldn't have done the minor. Right, okay, what we'll do is we'll duplicate this one. and we'll do refiner 2. Okay, and this might take a bit more, and we're probably going to have to change this. But the interesting thing is, what is going to happen when we actually, it looks like we're going to have to change this as well, right? And it means that we're going to have to change these, the menu buildings and the menu connectors, if we want to change each of these different things, right? But we'll take it with a pinch of salt right now, and we shall see how this actually runs. And we shall see what our menu is going to show. We have changed quite a lot of things here, right? So we can continue that and then hit this. Okay, so that's fine. Right, so that's fine for the moment. But what we need to do is we need to stop this for now, right? And then we need to go into our controller, and this is, as I said, this is where things begin to get a little more complicated, right? Because things are never that simple, really, when you're working with stuff like this. So if we look at this and we type in, let's say, refiner 2, right? Then we press play, continue that, press H, and now we have our refiner 2. Okay? So we have a refiner, we have a refiner 2, which is kind of what we want, right? But we need to basically unlock this, right? So there's a couple of ways that we can do this. We can store this in a big array of what's unlocked or not, or we can actually check it in real time. Okay? So, with that in mind, we first have to go to our research, right? And then we need to do a similar thing to what we were doing before, right? So it's back in our FE controller, right? And then we look for our research progress. And then this basically if it's true, that, right, okay. So we need to find the references on this. Okay. So we have the research button, so that's going to update the button, right? So we can check that, and that just sets the percentage, which is fine. And then research details. And that is not research complete. And that's pretty much the same thing. So we need to find out where we check whether or not our research is complete. Add worker to building, autosave, set current research. So it's going to be in our BPC research. Okay. And if we check here, so that's set new research, this is set process, right, and this is process research. Okay. And then we check for research completion. And this is it here. Right. So for a miner that updates the research complete. Okay. And this is where things are getting a little bit tickly. Right, because we're not or maybe we are. Right, we're gonna have to run this to find out. But what we're going to have to see here is in our FE controller, which is here, we're actually going to have a look at our players, or sorry, our research. Alright, caution actor. It's none of that stuff. Widget crafting, it's not that either. Right, we definitely have the struct current research, right? But it may well be in here in our game instance that we have the the research position, right? And what I mean by the research position is the state of all research. Okay, so we're gonna have to have a look in our FE instance. And you'll see here that we have the struct research stuff. Right? And if we make that available, I'm not 100% sure if we're going to see this or not, but this is going to be the key to the kingdom, or if it means we're going to have to do some major rejigging of all the systems. Right? So we're going to have to get our controller here. Controller. And we haven't got a current struct on that. And we don't have anything that tells us the current state of our research, right? So, with that in mind, we have to go back to our controller and we have to find it out, basically. And that's going to have to be over here. We're going to delete that. Then we're going to do append, because we're going to need some white space so that we can see what the value is. Right? And then we're going to grab our game instance. And then we're going to say struct research items. And then basically we're going to say for each as I said, the hotbar is now it doesn't seem like, at the moment it doesn't seem very much like a hotbar tutorial, but it shows you all the things that are actually linked, all the systems that are linked to basically to update a hotbar in real time. Right, so we're going to have name, and we're going to add a pin, then we're going to have space, more space, and then we're going to have status, and that should tell us all the researches and the particular say 3, in fact no, we'll say 2 is fine, and it's going to be white, and that's fine. We're not going to print it to log because we just want at the moment we just want something on the screen, right? So we've got nothing complete. Okay, we've got research 1 available, fabricator 1 available, probe 1 available. So we've got a nice view of all the research we can do, and I shouldn't have stopped that there, but hey ho. So what we'll do is, we're not doing that anymore, we're doing that, and we're doing a probe, right? And then I'm not used to doing it that way. And I'm pretty sure this is probably better. Right, not 100% sure on that, but seems to be. And now we select our recipes to make our research. Right, and then we set our research to mining, close that, we'll spin that round, right, we'll save that because that is bauxite, so that's good, and we'll do that, then that, and that, and that, and we kind of screwed that up, but anyway, we do that, we do that, that, and that, and we do that, and that, and now we add some workers, then we speed it up, and what we should see here when we do this is we are researching this, right, so that's cool. And if we look at our research, it is researching away nicely. Okay. And we can speed that up again. Hi Dante, how you doing, mate? Right, so you'll notice here, Dante, we've got a hotbar. I have added a hotbar. And the hotbar hopefully is going to be configurable by the player. We're nearly done with the mining. So, as I said, we're working on a hotbar. Rather than this, right? Rather than this, right? Now this isn't looking too good because I've changed the images a bit. But you probably remember what it looked like. No, I've still to do that yet. There's a lot that goes into the hotbar, right? And I'm gradually putting it together. So you can see that you can do the connectors and you can do the buildings, and this all works, and you can actually build from them, so you can actually go like that. But I've not set it so that you can actually press a button yet. Now you'll notice now we should have mining 1 is done, and we can actually do mining 2, right? But oh, I've went and stopped it, damn it. I meant to save it at that point. I've been working on the saves the last couple of nights, so the saving is working a lot better. It actually saves like all the conveyor belts and all the objects on the conveyor belts and all that stuff that's working, right? So you can, well, you can't really see it for this place, but you'll notice that mining is actually complete because it saves in a slightly different way, right? So the interesting part now is if mining is complete, then our hotbar should actually show this. Now it does, but that's not really correct. Okay? Because that is hard coded. So what we need to do is we need to change this and take out this and set it to none to start with, right? And basically, when something is complete, we need to check the hotbar to see if it's got all the items that it unlocks. Okay, so if we go back to our hotbar, wherever it is, apparently we closed it down because, as I said before, this takes a lot of integrated systems for this to work here. So I'm trying to think of how this works. Okay. So let's do it from a simple way first. So if we look at research and we look at the data tables and we have the research items, and this says products unlocked, right? And mining 1 yes, quite simply, it depends, right? Yes, you can do it, but it depends on the way you want to do it. Right? You could tag all your items, right? And then when you load up the controller, you can just basically get it to loop through every object, and if it's got that tag, then you set that material on it, or you set material 0 to the material or the base material you want it to be, right? Or you could do it in the level if you wanted, but it depends on how you're doing it and how you want it to work. Right, you could parent, fundamentally you could parent every object, create like a base parent object to all your meshes, and then you could set it in the parent object. Right, there's a number of ways you could do it, depends on your use case. So in here we need to say products that are unlocked, and it's going to be miner 2, right? Except it's not a miner 2. It's not actually an E item. What it is actually a menu item. Right? So it's actually these, right? So it's actually a struct menu buildings. Okay? Now we might actually have to do the 2 of these. I'm hoping that answers your question, Dante, or at least it gives you an idea of what to do. As I said, I don't know what circumstance you're going to texture them all with the same texture. You know, when you load the level or when you load the controller. And obviously, if this is an asset, that's not really going to work because you obviously don't want to change. You don't know what controller the player's going to use, right? Right, so what we need to do is change our previous thing and this isn't an item, right? This is actually struct menu buildings. So this is building is unlocked, and we will actually end up with connectors unlocked. and this is going to be struct menu connectors. Both of them are going to be arrays because you can have basically more than one. And then we're going to have to go into DT buildings. And in here, actually not in there, struct research. Alright, so this is actually in the research part. And in our data table, it's going to be research items. And mining 1. Right, so it's not that either. Right, you've put me off. Menu buildings. And it's going to be the miner 2. Actually, you know what? It doesn't need to be that. It just needs to be the row name. Right? It actually just needs to be the row name. Right? So this isn't struct menu buildings. This just needs to be a name. And that just needs to be a name. Right? And then when we go into here, it's not there. This is obviously miner 2, but it's not that. And it's not that. It's this one here. Right, so if we set this, we can dump that, and we can add that, and this is going to say miner 2, right? It's not hard at all. There's a myriad of ways you can do it, as I said. It just depends on your use case and how you want to do it. So we're going to say miner 2. Right? So we're going to be checking if miner 1 is complete. And then if it is, we're going to get the buildings unlocked. And then we're going to add it into our hotkeys, right? So with that in mind, we go to our hotkeys and I'm losing my train of thought here. And apparently we haven't got our hotkeys open, which isn't ideal. Right. Now, this is probably the wrong place to do this. Right, but what we're going to do is we're going to add no, that's a completely wrong place to do that. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to do it when we complete any research. Right, so I need to find out this thing here, and then we go back to here, and what we're going to say is I'm going to add a custom event. Right, and that custom event is going to be update Hotbars. Okay, so we're going to save that, then we're going to go back in here and then we're going to say update Hotbars. Okay, then we're going to go back to here and we're going to get our game instance, and research, then we're going to do for each. Right, let's tidy this up as we go along. That'll do for now. Drag that across. We're going to break this. Right, and then we are going to check the status. Right, we're going to say if that is equal to complete, then we're going to branch right, and if it's true, we're going to have to do a for each loop there. Now we're going to have to do it for this as well, but we'll do this one first because this is the one we've actually worked on. Right, and then we're going to have to get our array build, get this, and then we're going to write another function, return building exists in building exists on, we'll say building on Hotbar, right? So we're going to say building on Hotbar and temp exists, and we're going to set it before we do anything. Yeah, I mean, you can post a quick video and explain it, but it's not hard what you're trying to do. Right, and what we're doing is we're passing in a name, right? So we'll call it building name, and it's going to be a name, right? And then what we're doing is we're getting a building hotbar, and then we're going to do a for each loop. We're trying to record. That doesn't sound right. Anyway. So we basically, if that equals this, and that's a load of crap, right? So for each with break, right? If it exists anywhere, we just do that. And we're going to pass back another value. We're going to pass back a value. In fact, we're going to pass back two values, right? So exists, and that's going to be a bool. And actually, we're not going to do that because we don't need to know. Right, okay. We're cool with that. Right. So we branch off here. And we drag that in, drag that up. And this goes into completed. And we drag in our temp exists. And if that does equal that, then we set this to true. And we immediately break. Right? So that goes in there. So this is going to return whether the thing we just unlocked is in the hotbar or not, which it shouldn't be, but this is also going to set us up in the first place right, and if certain things unlock the same things, like for example mining might unlock the miner, right, but we might have another reward that also unlocks the miner, the second miner, right, and in that case we do need this, right, because if it already exists, right, then we don't want to add it to the hotbar again just because it's been unlocked again, right? So from that point of view, this makes sense, right? So we basically say building in hotbar, buildings unlocked, and then we do a for each, and that's fine. We do that, right, and we do a not, and then we branch, right? So basically if it exists then we set it to false, and then we don't do anything off the false, right? If it's true, we're doing that for each one, which is fine. Right? So if it's true, right, we're going to create another function which is going to be first empty hotbar slot. Okay, and we should really call it empty building hotbar slot, right, and we get this and we get it, and we're going to have to get a local variable added, and we're going to say slot index, and that is going to be an integer, and we're going to have empty slot, and that's going to be a boolean, right, and we're going to set it to true, and then if we find, actually we're going to set it to false, and then if we find an empty slot then we set it to true, and then we're going to pass back the index and the slot, right, and in fact this is going to be temp slot index, and this is going to be temp empty slot, Okay, and temp slot index, we're going to set it to nothing, and then if we do get one, we're going to set these two variables again. Right, so what we'll do is we'll duplicate those two, except we're going to set that to true, right, and we're going to move it to the right a bit here. And we're going to say for each with break, okay, and if that equals none, then we branch. So if it equals none, we've got an empty slot, okay? So we can basically set this to true, and then we can get the index of the slot. And we can pull this down, get ourselves a bit more neat and tidy. Then get that a bit more tidy, and then we basically break out of there. And remember, we're going to pass two variables back, so we need to set those up. So we can save that for now. Then we select this, and we have two outputs, and we can say empty slot and slot index, and that's going to be an integer, and we're going to save that. Right, then this comes out of our complete, and we basically plug in our empty slot and our index value here. Okay, if I can do that without mucking it up. And we can save that. And now if we go back to here, we can do that. So we find out if it's on the hotbar, right? And if it's not on the hotbar, we check if there's actually a hotbar slot that is empty, right? So we branch on this, and if this is true, then we do this, get this, then set array element, and we get the slot index and pass it in there. Right, and then we get this value here. And if this all works, it'll be a miracle. Or sorry, I'll rephrase that. If it works first time, it'll be a miracle. Right? And we shall drag that and put it there. We shall save that. Okay. And actually, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to call, well, let's add it to a key. And that's doing that. And on H, this is show the hotbar, right? We are going to just say update hotbars. Now it's normally going to be done when we actually complete a piece of research, right? But we're not going to do that because we've completed the research already. That's going to update the hotbars to give us minor 2. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're now going to test this to see what it actually does, right? And we're going to do that after I have a 2-minute break. So let's look at that when I return. In the meantime, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like and subscribe, and I shall see you in 2 minutes. Okay guys, we're back. So let's just assume that we're absolutely brilliant and that's absolutely fantastic and everything works, right? And what we'll do is we shall try to implement an interface, right, that makes our stuff work. So we're going to do another blueprint interface and we're going to call it BPI Hotbar, right? Pienso tú comprar cigarros para mí.
No me dijiste que necesitaba cigarros.
Está bien, está bien. Right, so we've implemented this hotbar, right? And what we're going to do is the input is we're going to add a new input and it's going to be key number and it's going to be an integer, right? And we're going to implement this in our controller. So we go to class settings and we're going to add a BPI hotbar. Okay, and the way my naming convention goes, it's BPI underscore hotbar. So let's not change that. Okay. And yep, that's okay. And then in our está bien. Bye bye. Oh, 100. Tienes 100.
Si te deja 160 y algo.
Está bien, está bien.
Para hacerme ese cigarro mañana, no sé.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go to our hotbar, wherever it is here, and in our hotbar item I'm going to implement right, so we're going to go to class settings and I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but we'll work our way around it. As I said, we just slowly build stuff up. Yeah, that was a bit of Spanish there. Dante? My wife is Mexican and my Spanish is rubbish. So what we're going to do is in our FE controller actually, you know what? In our FE item, we're going to have to do actually in our designer we're going to have to give it an index, right? So index, and that is going to be an integer, okay? And we're going to expose it on spawn, instance editable, save it, right? And when we actually do our hotbar main, right, and we create our individual building, so that was actually the wrong place to do it, right? So it's actually in here that we need to do it, right? So first thing we need to do is implement the class settings and add the BPI hotbar interface, right? Save that. And then in our designer, no, in the graph, what am I talking about? Do we have item count, item array? Right, okay, that's fine. So we're going to have key index. It's going to be an integer. Then it's going to be instance editable, and it's going to be exposed on spawn, and then we're going to save it. And if we go back to our hotbar main, add a breakpoint. What am I talking about? We're not adding a breakpoint at all. We are refreshing nodes, right? And apparently we do have an index at this point, which is good, right? It's all good. Drag that across to there, and then we bang that into there, and that sets our key index. Okay. And then this is going to be interesting, because we're going to have a problem with the, we're going to have a problem here, okay? But I'm not worried about it yet. Right, now, if we go back to our FE instance and we save this, then what we're actually going to do here is we're going to go into our project settings, right, and we're going to have our inputs, and we are actually going to have and this is going to be hotbar 1, and we're going to set these all up. And it's going to be hotbar 2. Now I'm setting these up in the input settings, right? Because we need to be able to rebind these. So say somebody wanted to rebind them to the F keys, or say somebody wanted to rebind them to the number keys in the keypad, or if they just wanted to do something weird, right, then this allows it, right? So we're doing keyboard 3. I'm going to rename these in a minute. I wonder if you can, interesting. No, that's not going to work. Maybe it is. I'm just wondering if, right, if I do this, right, and do hotbar, right, And actually I deleted that, but we had it in 2 as well, right? If we save this, right, and if I go into our FE controller, if I say hotbar, right, and does this give me the key that's been hit? Break key. And E controller hand, I'm guessing this is going to be a load of crap. Right, left, special one, blah blah blah. So that relates identifier. So if we print string, I'm wondering what this is going to do. Right, so we can pump this out for like 10 seconds. We'll change it to white, and if we keep hitting the 1 and 2 buttons, then I'm going to see what's actually going to happen here. Right, and what I'm going to do is we continue this, and then we go 1, 2, and 2, and we're going to have to get rid of that event tick, because we know that is kind of working. Right, so we get rid of this, save that, then we print it again, and here we go. And that doesn't seem to be doing anything. So what we'll do is we shall add a breakpoint here, and there we've got the print string, and that's given us nothing, 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 and nothing. One. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Resume that. Is this going to say 2? It does. What? So, can I say 2 int? Apparently I can't. Right, wait a minute. We'll say 2. Let's put a laugh. Right, we're not doing that, right? But this definitely can I 2 can I do like a get? And that's a float. Now I'm wondering what this is. Well, I hit the 2 button there. So I'm guessing this is just going to be 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, right? But the most interesting thing was its keyboard key. And that's just going to be true or false, I believe. Yep. Alright, that's not what I want. To right, string doesn't work. Enum doesn't work. Right, but if, yeah, that's not going to work. So that basically suggests, right, that this thing here, there's one of these that gives me a value that I want. Otherwise, what can I do with it? Right? So that's not giving us anything. And this doesn't give us keyboard values. Right, so there's nothing we can do with that, per se. Alright, we'll check this. And that's just going to break to the same. Right, so if I was to type break there, it's just basically going to give us this again. Right? But I'm assuming that there's one of these values here that I'm going to have to plug in one by one to find out which one gives us the 1 and the 2. Right? So it ain't that one. None. None, 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 none. Right, so at least we know that's working. Right? Identifier. Play. And that's giving us nothing. And I can't see this giving us anything. No, you never know. No, and that doesn't give us anything. Right? But the really strange thing, if we enable the breakpoint, right, and we hit 1, right, if we look at what the key is, it says 1. Right, but, and if we resume, right, and we press 2, it gives us 2. Right, but I can't get this value. Right, because none of these result in 1 and 2. Right, and I'm not 100% sure what this key structure thing is, or how I can convert it, or whatever, to what I actually want. Right, now let's just to string. And it's not. It's something to a string. So let's go with that. So it's not that. See, for this, if we do it and say 2, it doesn't give us anything. Right? We can say 2. Let's see if that does anything or give us any sort of thing here. Apparently not. I think I'm going to have to check on the internet for this one. Right, so this is a button. It's not really a button. But it'd be really nice if we could just get this number out the button, out the key that was pressed. Right. So let's see. We'll type in key. Okay. So that tells us if it's I'm just wondering here if we can switch. Apparently not. Right. Get key. That returns the key structure. Right, internet. So we need to return get key from key structure right. So what it's saying here, right? Doesn't seem like there's an answer for this. Right, I'm looking at an answer here, but it's not an answer at all. Interesting. And get key value. Get key value. Right, so as usual, the Unreal Engine documentation tells you absolutely nothing. Okay, so we can also do this apparently. Right. If we press play, this might just be the answer, or it might just not. Oh my god, it is right. Disable breakpoint, resume. And there we go, we're getting our actual numbers. So that means that we can just basically fire the interface off with this thing here. Right, so we can delete this. We're into overdrive now. Now that we've realised that this works. Right. Okay, and we can turn this into an integer. Right. And we certainly want to check. And this is going to make life so easy. Right. That we delete that. Okay. So we grab keyboard 3. We grab keyboard 4. Then we grab keyboard 5. Keyboard 6. Keyboard 7. I bet you can't guess what the next one is. Oh no, it's keyboard 8. Keyboard 9. And then finally keyboard 0. Right? And that's all great and good stuff. And now what we can do is we can get widget. Now if we're going to use the hotbar, then we're going to have the hotbar on screen all the time, so I'm going to add going to add a reference to it so that we can widget of get our widgets at class, right? And we're going to say hot bar item, right? And we're going to say for each loop. And then for this, we're going to what was it? Was it hotbar? Obviously not. It's BPI, new function interface call. Did I actually go back to here? No. BPI hotbar. Yeah, I didn't name it. We'll call it click hotbar, or sorry, what we'll do is we'll say, call it activate hotbar with button. Okay, save that, and then in here we're going to say activate hotbar with button message, and apparently it's not there. Why is it not there? Right, it is in hotbar item. It's not hotbar item. You idiot. It is buildings, individual building button. So this is going to be activate hotbar with button. Apparently it's not in there either. Right, hang on a second. Yeah, we can't do a for each there, can we? Right, so we're looking for our button, and we have got BPI hotbar, which is what we want. And we're going to say for each loop we're going to say activate, and we don't have, okay, we need to actually set it up. So we need in here, we need event activate hotbar with button. Oops. Save that, and then if we go back to our FE controller, activate, that had that there. Why can't I send this message? That's for each loop. Right. We're going to go back to here. We're going to save it. Event activate hotbar with button. Save that. Activate. We don't have activate hotbar with button message. Right, now that's weird why that doesn't have that. Okay. And we'll need to check what values are coming in here. But we've come to the end of our stream for tonight. I'm not sure if we'll continue with this for the next little while or whether I'll give it a rest. But if you've joined, thank you for joining. And if you've enjoyed it, etc., then hit the like and subscribe. Check out the description for my Discord, which you're welcome to join. If you want to support the channel, the easiest way to do it and cheapest is to click on my game in Steam and add it to your wish list. Or if you want to financially support, then there's the Patreon or actually buying my game. So thank you for popping along. I shall see you all tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bye bye for now.